back again.
Episode 2. 5 days since the last one.
30 seconds since the last one as well.
Yeah, Lewis didn't press record again.
But we got it before we got through a whole podcast.
Yes, that's right. That's
Happy
right.
days.
Getting better every time.
We are. And we're getting clips out of it all too. So we've been pumping them on Instagram.
Well, I think we just love the podcast, honestly.
Yeah, it's good fun. After a podcast episode, I feel bloody energized and excited.
It's going to be way better when we get guests on.
Yeah, I do. I messaged Jackson the other night, and I was like, I just got so much energy after we do a podcast.
Yeah, he did.
It's feel really good.
No, I said it's the same.
Yeah,
like it makes me feel good. Just,
talk about things we want to talk about, and
that's the thing, right? We're just talking about what we want to talk about, what we're doing. So speaking of, what did you do this week, Daniel?
I did a bit of work. Like a lot of work, actually. Been really hectic at work. I'm speaking for myself. I'm pretty sure Lewis has been the same. Honestly, I haven't even touched uni all week. I've just been that hectic at work.
Yeah.
Apart from that, so this long weekend's going to be a long weekend of tertiary work and not much pleasure. But that's fine. Then obviously a bit of beefy bloke stuff as well.
The way life goes, mate.
That's right. It's a sacrifice we make. What about you, Lou? What have you been up to?
What's today? What are we up to?
Thursday already.
Thursday. Far out. This week's flown by with Anzac Day on Monday. What did I get up to on the weekend? It was pretty chilled. Caught up with some mates. Cut up some more clips. Came around to Jackson. We recorded a few more clips as well.
That was good,
which was cool. And then work's been pretty good. It's been pretty quiet at the moment, which is nice and refreshing.
More time for Beefy. More time for Beefy Blokes.
Yeah, a lot more time for Beefy Blokes, which has been awesome. And then just getting back into the NFT space a little bit and a bit of crypto, but we'll touch on that soon enough.
We got some cool podcast topics.
Yeah, we do. About. Yeah,
all three of us. I did 2 assignments last week since our podcast. Did a test. That was basically me smashed with uni. Obviously, Beefy Blokes as well every day. Smashed with that. Well, Beefy Blokes world. We've done a lot of stuff this week. Don't want to bore you guys with the NFT project because it's more of a different thing. But yeah, we finished our trait competition today. We had an AMA yesterday, having another AMA tonight at 8 p.m. all of us.
Yep.
We had a meeting with our staff this morning, which is pretty good. Looking at where we're going to go from here, what we can do, how to better approach. Yeah, it is really exciting.
Some of the things that came out of that, just when you're bouncing ideas off of people outside of us three, like we'll come up with some pretty awesome ideas, and then you hear it from another perspective as something that we've said before, and we shut it down for one reason or another, and then they bring it with their perspective, and it's like, okay, yeah, we can reroute it in that sort of a way,
and new ideas that we never thought of, and it's just been good.
Especially coming from a different project's perspective. So a lot of our staff have worked on other successful projects, so they can
extremely successful.
Bring those ideas into our project, and we can mend them accordingly.
Yeah, that's right. Always expanding the team. Always looking to build, long-term vision for Beefy Blokes. Anyway, back to Bloke's podcast.
Just one more quick Beefy Blokes thing. I think the other exciting thing that we spoke about this morning is different ways that we're going to be involving the community more and more. So just some of the competitions that we're going to be running and some of the cool ways that you can earn different value within the Beefy Blokes project itself and the Discord, and then the utility that will bring you prior to and during mint. But we'll keep that on the hush hush.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you guys want to know more about the actual project itself, specifically the NFT project, then listen into the AMA or literally join our Discord, because I'm in there all the time talking, and there's mod in there all the time who can fill you in on anything. If you're bothered to read our white paper, I mean, it's got everything in there for what we're doing. But more importantly, the AMA, come hear us actually speak about the project in specific, not this podcast. So yeah, listen to that. There will be recording in the Discord. I'll post a recording if you can't come live. But yeah, that probably be on so it would be Thursday today, so we would have already had it, but yeah. So let's get into some interesting stuff that's happened recently in the space.
Been a crazy week.
Yeah, just stuff I guess that we can clip for TikTok and just clips in general, and just good conversations, interesting stuff.
Let's do it. What do you got? What's number one?
Do you want to go one at a time, or
sure?
We just
share it around.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start it off with just talking about NFT adoption in general. I think adoption is a big thing. Obviously it's still quite a small space in comparison to everything else, and people don't really understand it. And what I wanted to talk about in specific is how is it getting to the mainstream, and how are we going to get there? Because obviously, in my opinion, I think it's inevitable, and I think a lot of people do think it's inevitable, whether that just be the Web3 culture or crypto in general. I think it's inevitable. But yeah, what I've seen and what I like is, people starting IRL stores. Like there's DGen and Friends, shout out to you, opening up a coffee shop down in Wollongong. There's a guy up in Sunshine Coast, Calvin the Curator, opening up open up an art gallery. I know there's also another one in Melbourne who's opening up an art gallery, and this is digital art. And you'll just be able to come in there, hang out, and then I guess if you're someone who has no idea what NFT is, but you walk into the gallery, then you start learning, and people there are just educating, have a chat. It's good. I mean, even the people in the spaces that we go to, it's all education. That's all it is. People are educating people who have no idea. But at the same time, everyone's doing the right thing. I think. I don't think anyone needs to do anything more. I think everyone's doing the right thing. It's just time. It's just going to take time to get there, and we just got to build in that time. And I think it's inevitable, as I said. So yeah, I think that's a little bit about adoption.
Out of curiosity, with the museum, do we know the gallery? Sorry, do we know what sort of the projects they're going to be displaying? Like, is it going to be holders that can opt in to have their different pieces they own displayed on it, or
I'm not
going to be their own
in specific? I'm not sure.
Okay,
but I know for a fact that would be the idea, as well as really high quality. And I think their idea and approach is not to display blue chip projects, because everyone can look at an ape on Instagram, or it's more to actually focus on the art, like the digital art that actually made NFTs popular in the first place, like those color blocks and stuff like that, which was like in 2017 and even 2020, there was stuff that came out that was really focused on the art itself and coming from like artists, not just freelancers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That was one of the things that I was going to speak about. Is the different, I suppose, from my perspective, I kind of see it as two different ways the NFT works. You've got number one, which is the art-based NFTs. Number two, which is the utility-based NFTs clubs that you're kind of joining. So number one being, if you love the artwork, so say you love say Cause, for example.
Yeah.
And you love his work, you buy it because you like it and you display it in your house and whatnot.
Yep. Same as Takashi Murakami.
Yeah, I think similar, like Beeple, for example, his artwork was artwork at its core. And then you've got these other projects, which is what we're doing with Beefy Blokes and V Friends that Gary Vaynerchuk's doing. You've got the NFT and then it's a ticket to something.
And I think that Beeple reference is awesome, because I think he was actually one of the people that started the bull market last year in April, before Bored Ape Yacht Club even released. He was the guy that sold that 100-piece collection or whatever, and that sold for a ridiculous price, right?
So was that prior to Bored Ape?
I believe it was.
Oh, right.
Or maybe it was right after, but he had obviously been
mainstream attention.
But it was, I think it was 100 artworks, or maybe it was 1,000 individual ones. So he's obviously been doing them for years.
Yeah.
And then he sold it all in one. That was the whole. So yeah, he's been working on that for a long time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Sick. Yeah.
People, if you guys don't know him, he's a legend. He's a legend in the NFT space as well now.
Yeah.
Already was in the real world,
Yeah. So
the real world.
I like the idea of buying the artwork because you love the art, and you find say an artist that you've been following for years in the real world, and they start doing the digital art. Well, you buy their art, and eventually you're going to be able to display it in your own house. Like there's already those boards that allow you to connect your wallet
token
up to
frame.
It. Yeah.
So there's these things called a token frame, and it's literally just like a flat screen TV almost, but it's just like you can put any NFT, any video GIFs and stuff like that, which I'm going to get into some more of the actual art and reason why people would buy the art itself in a bit. But at the same time, I personally don't even give a fuck about art. Like I didn't get into it for the art. I got into it for the investment originally. And that's what a lot of people, and I think it's a big thing right now, is people are scared to enter the space because all they see is the big posts about people making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like, why would you go into a Rolex store if you know you can't afford one? It's the same as people are putting a fake perception on NFTs where they're only talking about the expensive NFTs. And people are like, well, I don't have enough money, so why am I even going to bother?
Yeah.
When they don't realize there's NFTs for free. You can get NFTs for free. You can make your own. Like, that's just my point, in my perspective, at least. And I think, again, it's inevitable. People are going to realize that it's not just, expensive projects that are out there. And I think expensive projects are dying, in my opinion. And I'll get into that at one of my last points, but I'll hand it over to Daniel to talk about one of his.
Just quickly on that front, I watched a video yesterday on, I think it was Instagram Reels or something. It's just this guy who was explaining that NFTs are actually illiquid, so you can't just flip it for a floor price like instantaneously. It's not like you're selling like a cryptocurrency or a stock for that matter. It's completely illiquid. So I think that's something that's like misconstrued from obviously not people who are in the NFT space, but people who are outside the NFT space who see like a Moonbird, for example, that's shooting for $200,000. I don't even know, but you can't exactly sell that for that like instantly. I'm sure if you listed it for the floor, it would get bought up.
Yeah, I think the Moonbirds is not as a good example because you probably could. But
but you know what I'm saying? Like any type, like they're just seeing it on like OpenSea, and then they're like obviously completely like wound out of space.
Yeah, I mean, there's projects that aren't as popular at the moment probably, and you can't sell that instantly. Daniel's right. You could even list it at the floor, but it might take a few hours.
That's
Whereas
right.
with a stock, or if you're in the weekday or a crypto, you can sell it the second you want to.
If you're in business hours.
Yeah, if you're in the business hours, But yeah, I think it's just because it's completely different. And obviously it's because you're using crypto, and it's all.
But I'm coming at it from a different perspective.
No, I see
obviously.
what you mean.
Yeah.
All right. So my main point for the week was obviously the big news that happened with Elon Musk buying Twitter, but not necessarily that. But there are several different news pieces that come from it, and like mainstream media portraying him as like a megalomaniac and like wanting to almost like dominate the world from that perspective, even though all he's doing is buying a social media company, which I mean, in like the complete terms of things, he's done more outrageous things.
Do you reckon it has something to do with jealousy? Like calling him a maniac is a bit of a stretch.
In what regard though? Like journalists being jealous.
I mean, journalists are going to be journalists, right?
Yeah.
They're always going to go.
I mean, obviously they're going off a clickbait type situation, but
I think
I find it interesting. Like you can take that perspective when literally all he's doing is saying, I'm just trying to enforce free speech. And then they're taking a complete 180 approach, which I mean, but I can see their perspective.
Yeah.
But like, why would you then materialize that and try and.
I also think they're coming from the perspective of he's never done anything with social media before. So why is he getting into that? It's like, mate, he does whatever he wants and it seems to do right.
Yeah, he's not just a tech guy.
Yeah,
he's an everyone's guy.
He's a people's guy, bro.
Well, he's an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think one thing that on the media as well, and he put out a tweet today or yesterday that said, allowing free speech on the platform is going to equally piss off the left wing and the right wing of politics. Yes. And I was like, that's interesting because a lot of these news companies and corporations, say Rupert Murdoch, for example, he owns Fox and Sky News here and pretty much all the papers.
Yep.
His journalists take their side of whatever side they're on. They pump what they want to pump. Boom, you bring Twitter into the space. Some of these other journos get some more clicks and a bit more traction on it all. Well, then there's another opinion. So I think a bit of them probably
that's
scared
actually
about
an interesting
that.
way. So he's going to get ganged up on by both sides of the spectrum.
Well, yeah, if you let them all say whatever they want within reason.
Yeah, right.
And that's been the issue. They censor, rightly or wrongly, a lot of the things that go out. Say, for example, with Trump, he said some pretty wild stuff on there, in my opinion. But is it okay to leave that stuff on the platform, or does it have to come down?
I also think there's a little bit of a misconception where people think, and maybe, I don't know, you guys probably don't think this, but people think that now that he owns it, all of a sudden it's going to be free speech. Like, no, it's going to take a while to get to that point. And he's got to work towards that. Like, he's got to get through laws. He's got to, somehow convince the governments, I'm sure, because they have control over everything. It's not just going to be a free speech right now.
Yeah.
He's got to walk towards it.
It's got to be like a whole company culture change as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's still your general counsel in there who's portraying everything from a legal perspective. So if he wants to do something wild, the government will eventually just shut it down in that regard. So there's still stakeholders within the business, people with jobs, and he's not going to go in and fire the whole management team. So unless he does,
but he's not going to do that. But if he's threatening to dump the stock, that's just
that's
well.
True.
Then from that perspective, what happens to people who own Twitter stock?
Mate, I think
that's
well, isn't he turning it into a private company?
Yeah.
So what happens? What happens with like Lou's
I don't know.
Robinhood account where he has $2,000 worth of Twitter stocks in it? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think my understanding of it, and I could be wrong, someone in the community might have a better understanding, is so he's bought the company valued at, I think it's $54.
Yeah, I saw that.
$54.28. Which the stock at
it's
the
like
moment
39
is,
or something.
So he buys it for more, and then every holder of that stock gets paid out their $54.
But then how does that get distributed? Like, that has to be an absolute
I think it's
nightmare.
through the exchange. I'm sure it is a nightmare.
Is it through dividends?
I think similar in that.
Well,
what they would do
to
with
bring dividends up, how are you going to price out your dividends? Like,
Look, you're talking to the wrong people for this.
No, but you know what I'm saying. But this is like the questions that have to be asked. Like, what happens with that? What if you don't want to sell it? What if you want it?
Or you have to sell it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, it's such a.
So he buys the shares into a new company. So then he would say, if he's the sole shareholder of his company that he's bought it in, then he owns 100% of those shares, and then he can restructure the company however he wants.
So that's almost a free advertisement for cryptocurrency then, though. Like, no one can take away your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But they can take your Twitter shares away from you.
Well, he's part of the whole decentralization.
But he's also, he's a part of that. So that's a bit of a...
He's part of the culture. So I think it's me personally being in the space and loving Web3 culture in general. I just think it's great. And I'm a big Elon Musk fan. I reckon everyone should go watch the Netflix movie that he just released on SpaceX. It's great. It's not has nothing to do with Tesla, has nothing to do with any of those ventures, but it's about his SpaceX and just what he's doing with that. You can't hate the man. In my opinion, I can't hate him. Like he's just doing things that no one else wants to do, and
he's succeeding at it.
Yeah, and he's
He's
doing well.
passionate as well. Like I saw a clip the other day, and he said you need something to be. What are we doing with our lives? We need something to wake up to each morning and be passionate and excited about it. And I was like, holy shit, that's really infectious in itself. Like, and he's just got so much passion. Yeah, and then it's interesting.
I mean, and drive to like keep achieving. Which I mean, I'm sure if like you put any of us three on that pedestal, I definitely wouldn't be working as hard as him.
Oh yeah, he's doing it for the reasons that
I don't think there's many people around the world that work as hard as that man.
No, but yeah, especially with his net worth. Like, I would not be working 16 hours.
Well, he doesn't think about his net worth, bro. He's couch surfing. He's on
I saw that. That's why.
So yeah, I mean, and if you watch the SpaceX documentary, he talks about at one time how the one day before they're about to do the rocket launch, like one of their famous ones, I can't remember the name. He's like, I haven't slept in like 3 days, and it's like, wow. It's like, and he still looks like he's in it. And you know why it seems like he's still alive? Because that's what he wants to do with his life. That's what makes him feel alive, right? Like him taking steps towards landing on Mars is what motivates him in SpaceX, I believe. Obviously, I don't know his, but you know, that's what wakes him up, and that's what keeps him there every day at work.
And they're just buying Twitter as a side hustle.
Well, yeah, imagine being able to just spend 50 mil or 50 billion, on just or 48 billion or whatever it was. You know, anyway, Lewis, what was something you want to talk about?
Well, on the share chat, I was talking to someone last night about the whole NFT and crypto space, and I kind of sold the whole space to myself again. And I was like, okay, did a bit of the more research in the space. I kind of heard what some of the key stakeholders have to say.
Gary V TikToks.
Couple of Gary V TikToks, bunch of Mark Cuban TikToks. I love Mark Cuban in the space.
I'm not a massive fan.
Really?
No. But anyway, you
jump to that after.
Yeah, we digress.
I love Mark Cuban. Kevin O'Leary, another one.
I like him. Yeah,
it's wonderful. He's pretty heavy in it. Anyway, so I decided to sell my shares, all of them, which is a big
business hours, I trust.
Big call. And then I was like, all right, so what can I do with it? Well, keep an eye on Ethereum. So I've bought back into ETH. Not a crazy amount, enough to keep the pulse on it.
But you got to understand his stocks were long term, so he's probably holding it long term anyway, right?
Yeah, and so my stocks was the sort of thing where like a savings account essentially.
Passive investing.
But I was like, all right, at that point a few days ago, I didn't hold any ETH except for I think it was like 0.0 something. And I was like, okay, buy back in, keep an eye on it. That way I'm invested in it. I've got my eye on it. And then I also decided to buy a little NFT.
Really?
Which I could pull up now.
So we also, to put it into context, we didn't really tell each other what we were talking about to keep it like as a conversation. Like, you know, we're talking, so we don't know what NFTs he's bought. Like, this is interesting. I want to see.
He's very excited.
Here we go. Oh, is that a V Friends too?
Yeah.
It is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one.
No, you'll pop it up on the screen.
Pop it up on the screen. So yeah, I decided to buy into the V Friends train.
Fair enough.
Reason behind it, why? So a lot of people a lot of people ask, well, like what makes you buy different NFTs? And I was like, okay, fair question. The thing for me was when V Friends 1 was released, I'd been watching Vaynerchuk for like 7-8 years. Massive fan. It was kind of the reason why I started to why I did the whole work for free thing for a few months and see if you get a job out of them. Oh, that worked. V Friends, I was following it closely. Release happened. They did the Dutch auction style. There was a few of them that was sitting a few days after mint for 0.5 ETH. And at that point, I think ETH was about $6,000. So it was about $3,000.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was 0.5. So
it's talking about Australian dollars.
Australian dollars.
Wasn't it $6,000?
Yeah, it was $6,000 Australian.
Yeah,
at the peak.
Because it was like US.
Oh, November. I thought you were talking about right now.
No. November 21. So
yeah.
When whole V Friends 1 initially happened.
V Friends 1.
And then I was like, okay, well, then they skyrocketed, sitting now at about 9 point something, around 10 ETH. And that's with the VCon coming up. A bunch of people have already used utilities on them. So I was like, okay, I'm not missing the boat again. There's a much bigger supply with 55,000 of the V Friends 2.
55,000?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I did not know that.
So it's massive. But then I was like, okay, well, what utilities do they have? So I bought mine for 1.07 ETH.
So 1 ETH?
Yeah.
And there's 55,000 of them?
Yeah.
Right, Gary V's sitting on a cool bag.
He is, but then
I'm thinking about how crazy that is for them to be 55,000 and they're sitting about 1 ETH floor.
They are, well, now they're, I think, now that we're recording this, 0.83.
Okay.
So I bought it pre-release, before they showed the
So
visuals.
so the floor's gone down.
The floor's gone down.
Mate, I thought you were going to say you bought it for 0.1.
No. So
Shit,
yeah,
crazy.
so the reason behind it, utilities behind them, he hasn't announced anything yet. So I was like, okay, well, he tends to never let people down when they're in his projects.
Mhm.
Second reason was I looked at what Yuga Labs did with Bored Ape, Mutant Ape, Kennels. What's the other one?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, the top tier project, Bored Ape, number one, has gone gangbusters. They've got a strong team. Number two project's gone crazy. They've got a strong team, and that's
so you
why
think this is like the Mutant Ape?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably the Mutant Ape mixed with
No, I agree.
the other projects of Yuga.
I completely agree. I'm not saying because you want to bet on people's reputation. Like he's not going to put his reputation on the line for a project, especially Gary Vee. He's already got so much money. He's already got all these other businesses. This is not his main business. He's not going to put his reputation on the line and not do anything about it.
Yeah, and you said the other day that you want to find the management teams to invest into, and I was like, all right, well, Gary Vee, and similar to my stocks. Well, stocks were probably going to be 60-year payout. Like I'm 23 now. I'm 83 by that point. Well, at least play the game with Gary for 40 or so years. So that takes me to 63. Probably won't hold it that long, but who knows what it's going to do in 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
who knows what utility is going to put on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my bit of news.
Yeah,
I like that.
55,000 though.
Yeah, that's crazy. But there's always a reason.
Yeah, there is always a reason. I mean, I'm
think
sure
the reason is because he knows his audience is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's already massive. And he can afford to release 55. And I've actually heard a lot of NFT people say recently that they're going down the trend of either having a shit ton or fuck all.
Mm.
And it works. The 10,000 trend is kind of dying. Anyway,
yeah,
I'll get into one that I find really interesting, and I think it's about fashion and the way that the fashion industry is going to change. And one of my favorite brands, and I think the best clothing brand of all time, and you can debate me on that, is Nike. They are the best clothing brand of all time.
Mm.
And in specific, they have an NFT project called CloneX, which is with Takashi Murakami. So augmented reality, if you know what that is, it's like, you know how you can go on Snapchat right now, there's a filter and you put on your face, and there's also like on messages, you can have like those animals on Apple phones and stuff. Anyway, so they have AR sneakers, Artifact to be specific, RTFKT. That's how they spell Artifact. That's their brand. And so they have these AR sneakers right now. You can buy them right now. When you have the AR glasses on, so Apple right now, they're developing the AR glasses. So because VR goggles, they can make people motion sickness. You walk outside with VR headset on, you look ridiculous. But what if you had glasses that look like what Lewis is wearing right now? But out of that, you just see a whole different world of augmented reality. So augmented reality means stuff that's in front of you changes because it picks it up, right? So you can see, so for example, I've seen photos of people walking around China with AR glasses on, and it's picking up people from miles away and tells them how many meters away they are. And it's like crazy shit. Like it's going to be different, right? Anyway, back to Nike and what they're doing. So Nike, so when those AR glasses are popular, right? I think they're already ahead of the game, these CloneX people. So you can buy one of the CloneX shoes. It literally looks like a Nike Dunk, and they're worth $9,000 right now. They got airdropped. But the interesting thing is like, so there's these people, right? There's already videos and the people are showing their shoe and it's like moving and it's like crazy. It looks all crazy, right? It's got all these crazy colors. It changes colors. It looks insane, right? So they're starting with the shoes, but imagine when you can see people with whole outfits that look completely different, where they just look like a normal person on the street. Anyway, what Nike's done, which is cool, is they also had these vials and they also got airdropped to the users. It's like, so it's just a vial and you can change the color of the shoe. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. You can change the color of the shoe. They go for $9,000, right? But what's cool about that is Nike's going to do collabs with famous artists. So for example, Takashi Murakami, that's pretty much a given because he's already on the project. Imagine you had the Takashi Murakami vial and then you put it on your already expensive limited edition one. Then that shoe is just worth shit tons of money. And if someone sees you out in person and you have that one on, it's like, holy shit, he's got that Takashi Murakami designed Nike shoe. That's just where I see it. And it's just a cool thing. And that's why I think Nike is the best company in the world right now, especially the best fashion company in the world. Not the best company in the world, but the best fashion company in the world, is because it's inevitable. Like I was saying earlier, adoption's inevitable. People are going to go there. People are going to care about that. We might not care about it. You guys might not care about it. I don't really necessarily care about the AR stuff yet, but some people are, and they're going to be the first ones there, and they've already done it. Like they've already done it. Yeah. Like, it's 2021. and they've already done it.
Yeah. See, that's the wild thing. And like, you look at what a phone was 20 years ago. So you look at what this stuff is now. Imagine this stuff in 20 years. Like, it's just going to be completely different, much more affordable, much more like everyone's going to be able to get into the market eventually, in my opinion.
And right now, Lewis wearing his glasses, right? He could be looking at me and Daniel, and we could have completely insane outfits on. But it's like, well, what's the difference between wearing an insane outfit already? Well, have you thought about with AR? There's no gravity laws. You can do anything, you know, there's no gravity laws, and the fashion shows are going to look ridiculous because these artists are going to get so creative and there's no gravity laws. It's just like the stuff that they're going to come up with is just ridiculous, right? And there already is so much ridiculous shit. And like, I've already seen people with like, back to, you know, so people on social media, right? Have you ever wanted to provide really good content? Like, you think that you have the best content in the world, but you don't want to provide it because you don't want to show your face. Well, have you ever thought about, you know, with the messenger, how you can have as an octopus as your face and you can talk? It's like, well, yeah, you know, everyone's got an octopus, or everyone can use that one. It's like, well, what if I can use my NFT that no one else has as my face? And people already do that. There's a guy who's extremely popular on social media right now. He does like a podcast. I'm pretty sure he's a Bored Ape. And there's also a guy who's got a Clone X, and they just have it as their face, and they do all their content through it as their face. They don't dox themselves. And it's an interesting way of people being able to provide the content that they want to provide that maybe no one else is able to provide without doxing themselves and flexing at the same time. That's just my opinion. I think it's cool, and that's a use case that NFTs have that people might not know about. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But from a company perspective, it's interesting that Nike is investing so far ahead in the future.
Mate, Nike, I guarantee you they're going to be one of the top metaverse players as well.
Be a good day to own Nike stocks, hey Lou?
Oh, mate, don't ask me.
This has been out for a while, bro.
But I think that's the other thing. These NFTs are a way of people expressing themselves. So you've got your wallet, and eventually, I reckon it'll come to the point where instead of going through someone's Instagram feed, you go onto their wallet address, and you're looking at what
people think,
and you're looking at what they've got in their wallet instead. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Bored Ape or a Mutant Ape or a V Friend or a Clone X or a punk. It could be anything that you use to describe who you are and how you act. And
well, I might as well get into my one that another one I was going to talk about, because it kind of relates to that.
He's going for 2 in a row.
Because it kind of relates.
All right, hit us.
So with Coinbase, they released their NFT beta marketplace. So Coinbase itself they've created a marketplace which people had to sign up for. So the beta has been released, and they've gone down a different route, right? So it's what you're talking about. So they've added, like, you can follow people, and there's a follower system, so people can get followers. And they've added a For You page.
Really?
So it's like a social media within it. So it's kind of what you're talking about, where people will just go on there. They'll have a certain amount of followers. They're showing what they have on display. It's at beta stage, and people have a lot of complaints right now. It's very Web 2-ish.
Yeah.
But it's back to what you're talking about. It's like you'll go to someone's wallet to see what they have instead of their Instagram. And it's probably won't even be called a wallet. All the terms that we're using right now, people think that they won't even be used. Like, a wallet won't be a thing. They won't call it a wallet. Who knows what it's going to be, right? But you're right. And so, yeah, you can comment on NFT listings. So you could comment on a bunch of paper handers and be like, why are you being a paper hander? You know, I just think they did kill it, but it is a bit Web 2-ish. But like, the thing that Coinbase and what they're going to, the reason why it's going to have a massive impact on the market is not because of the stuff they're offering. It's because Coinbase itself is massive. The amount of people that have Coinbase accounts, when they start getting emails from, you know, Coinbase, and they already have crypto, oh, you have ETH? Might as well buy an NFT. Have you seen our new marketplace? Like, people think that the Coinbase NFT marketplace is going to bring in millions of people into the space that have never touched it before. And yeah, that's just a little bit about that. And I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, no, that's sick. That'll be fascinating to see how that plays out, because there are a few platforms at the moment where you can display your NFTs. Like I mentioned it last week, Mark Cuban's got that lazy.com. So you can just put that in your bio, you can pin your top ones, and people can see it that way. But when it becomes its own social network in its own sense, like an Instagram, and have the reels on it with people's NFTs, yeah, it'll be incredible.
And because I don't think Coinbase is going to be the person that, but I could be wrong. I might be looking at this clip in 3 years' time and be like, you were wrong. You know, I don't think Coinbase is going to be the people that are that social platform, because they're not decentralized. I think there will be a platform out there that hasn't been developed yet that has it's social media, basically. It's completely decentralized though. You can follow people on it. You don't have, like, you know, it's Twitter, but it's not Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, there was like rumors of us buying a decentralized Twitter, but instead, obviously, what happened.
Well, because maybe he's turning Twitter into it.
Did you see?
That's a rumor.
he put one up the other day, a tweet saying that he's going to get rid of the Polygon profile pictures.
The Polygon ones, yeah.
Being NFTs. Yeah, because once, I don't know if you've seen it. So instead of having a circle, if you put your NFT up there, it's a polygon.
Have a hexagon.
Hexagon rather. Polygon. Hexagon, polygon, same thing.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
But it's any NFT.
Yeah,
it can be
So
what's his reason behind it?
Well, he said they're spending the developers are spending all this money and time on building useless use cases for Twitter. Let's put the power and energy somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of the hexagons.
What do you think of that?
I think it's not a bad idea. Like I personally had a hexagon for about 3 months and mine's off now.
Yeah.
Only because I switched it to my ledger and I could put it back on with my ledger. You can put your profile picture as a hexagon with a ledger. I'm not really sure how it works. I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty straightforward, but I was like, it actually isn't safe. It is safe. They say it's safe, but at the same time, I still don't feel safe having my $200,000 NFT linked to Twitter.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel the same way. I know a lot of people who still don't want to pay the $2, even though they have millions and millions of dollars in assets. It's like, I get it. I loved it at the time. I think it's a great idea, but I can see why he wants to get rid of it.
Especially if he's trying to expand it.
Yeah, it doesn't make
a lot more than just a profile picture thing.
And plus, I don't think he likes the whole flexing thing.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, fair enough. Well, Husey, it's another one.
All right. Well, mine's closely linked to Lou selling all his stocks. So quantitative tightening set to occur either May 4th or May 5th. Not sure.
Yeah.
Whenever the Federal Reserve meeting is. So that's literally in a stone's throw of a couple of days. What is it, like 10 days now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally 10, less than that actually. So yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that affects obviously traditional markets and then crypto and NFT markets. And I think that'll be interesting to see if there's like a decoupling of crypto and stocks, but so I'm pretty sure it'll follow the NASDAQ. So if the NASDAQ takes big line down, obviously crypto will follow. Then it'll be interesting to see what happens with obviously all these big projects like Bored Ape and then obviously VFriends and stuff like that, whether they follow suit or they stay strong in that whole thing, because obviously it's going to be an absolute whirlwind.
It's going to be different. It's going to be crazy.
So I think that's like obviously
and then what about the decoupling between NFTs and ETH?
Well, yeah, that was also on there. So is there going to be a decoupling of NFTs and crypto prices?
Well, normally there is.
Well, yeah, currently it is because there's like what I'm pretty sure Bored Ape's up 60% today.
Well, the way that
Kennel Club, one of them.
Yeah.
But if that's up 60% and then ETH's down like 3% or something.
Well, yeah,
that's completely gone.
So if you guys don't know and you're listening, the way, I mean, obviously the NFT market changes a lot, but the way it usually works and the way it worked originally in the early days and this is how people went off it is whenever ETH and stocks, so whenever stocks are going up, obviously crypto starts going up, but whenever ETH in specific is going up, projects are usually being sold because people are buying ETH.
Yeah.
But when ETH's going down, they're selling their ETH and they're buying projects. So it's kind of like a bounce. But I think recently with the whole, but I think it's to do with the war though. And obviously the tightening and stuff. So yeah, there's the fear in the market right now just means there's no one knows.
That's what I mean. Like, are we going to see people just taking their risk off the table?
Yeah.
Which I think you would. So if someone's sitting on a 200K bag for an NFT.
I personally think though, I personally think you can't put Bored Ape Yacht Club in that situation. I think, their floor price might go down. But I think the reason why Bored Ape Yacht Club, and I was speaking to a lot of people in Discord today in our Discord, they were asking me questions and at the other side and stuff like that. I think, and I know for a fact, like I was just listening to a podcast last night and they were talking about it. So why is Bored Ape Yacht Club worth so much? And this guy is a guy who's talking about how he bought one and he doesn't even like NFTs at all, which I'll get into him in a bit. It's because the people who hold it don't care about the value.
Yeah.
They don't even see the value in it. They don't even they might look at the floor price, but they don't see the value. They just think about the project itself. And I honestly think Bored Ape Yacht Club, and you guys can quote me on this, Bored Ape Yacht Club is the only blue chip project there is right now.
So you wouldn't put CryptoPunks in that?
I would not put CryptoPunks there. It might be, and this is debatable, but I think there's a lot of light blue chips. That's what I would like to call it. That's my own word.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Clone X, Punks, Doodles, all them. But they are doing, but they haven't done anything that Bored Ape Yacht Club's done. And their community members don't see the project the same way that the Bored Ape Yacht Club community sees the project.
Yeah, interesting with the whole decoupling stuff, I reckon, as well, because I don't know. I wonder what it will be like if the markets do go to shit more so than what they've done over the last few months. It'll be interesting to see what these whales and the big holders of these cryptos do. In terms of if they're gonna liquidate a fair bit of it, or if a lot of them are in it for the 20-year plan of what crypto could be.
Yeah, I was watching a Michael Saylor interview, and he was saying he doesn't see he sees this as the bottom, which would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Whether this is the bottom, because you could say we bottomed out, we've hit a double bottom. If you look at the charts, which could signify that. But then also the rising channel is broken as well. Yeah.
But then someone
please don't roast me for this technical analysis. I know absolutely nothing.
What's a rising channel?
So then it's when it's going and it's going up into if you can imagine a whiteboard there, but it's broken down past that now. So obviously big red line go.
But I've heard in the past year, I've heard so many people say, "Oh, it's going in and it's going to go up and then it's going to go."
Well, that also just says it's technical analysis forward.
Yeah, and I honestly think the guys who have been in it since 2011 and stuff like that, they will tell you
going to $25,000 doesn't affect them because they'll tell you 800.
They'll tell you that what you're saying is that we've been at they'll tell you that a proper bear market lasts 3 years.
That's true.
But no one knows. You could be right, and that guy could be right. Whoever you just said.
No, but then they would also say to take it back from not talking about crypto, talking about a whole market as a whole,
like a market,
and
crash,
saying it's gone absolutely parabolic since the COVID recession. And something has to give.
I think we are talking about a market crash in general because they all kind of relate.
Especially if even if you look at real estate prices, where we're from, absolutely parabolic and priced everyone out of the market.
Yeah, but the stock market, the ASX, that's come back down pretty significantly.
Everything has, man.
Yeah. So, but in saying that, real estate, I don't know what the numbers are like now, but are they still somewhat high?
But that's the thing. It's not like you could graph it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you want to go off a median house price or something.
But if you go and ask anyone, they'll tell you that houses are too expensive right now.
That's right.
So that's how you know.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
You got anything else?
I do. I was listening to a podcast last night, and I suppose it's back on the long-term play of these things in 20 years. And they were talking about a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, and obviously ETH and Bitcoin came out as the big ones of the conversation, and also Polygon.
Interesting.
But I think the fascinating thing is, in the way that I kind of break them up now, I'd be interested to get your guys' perspective, is Bitcoin is more of a store of value. It's like the digital gold.
Yep, digital gold, yep.
Ethereum is more of an investment in terms of
the technology,
the smart contracts in themselves. I'm so fascinated with that smart contract technology in the sense of what it can do. And an example I saw the other day was, we spoke about the watch one before, and the Kevin Nike O'Leary, one as well, and Kevin O'Leary. But another one which I think is really cool with the smart contracts is where these, say, insurance companies will eventually develop smart contracts for their policies, and it will be something along the lines of, okay, if this happens, then that happens, then that happens. So if the storm comes in, then the smart contract will start detecting how much rainfall is happening. And then if there's a certain amount of rainfall, it automatically will just pay out the customer whatever it is in insurance that they're covered by with that policy.
I haven't heard that analogy before.
And I think that's fascinating because it just saves a hell of a lot of time. So imagine you've got a Broncos game on in the city here in Brisbane, in Australia, and a massive thunderstorms come through and they've had to call off the game and there's hailstones and they can't play. Well, you can integrate the bomb into the smart contract. Smart contract can see that that's happened. Well, they're insured for $200,000. Boom, instantly gets paid instead of having to go through the whole claim process of getting that money paid out. And I reckon that stuff with Ethereum, until there's another player in the game that's able to do it better than what the Ethereum network's doing with their blockchain.
Oh, there are people.
But then imagine the gas issue.
Yeah, and then that's the other exciting thing, I think, with what they're going to do with the ETH 2.0 and the merge of that.
I don't think we should get into too much detail because we might not be able to explain it too well. And I don't think we should talk about it at all, that it's 2.0, because it's actually a bit hard to explain.
Yeah.
But they are moving from proof of work to proof of stake.
Yeah, and then that's going to and then from the perspective of institutional investors and all that, the environmental impacts of ETH 2.0 are significantly less than what it is with ETH at the moment.
Which makes Bitcoin look a bit worse.
I think it's something like it'll reduce, once they go to ETH 2.0, the environmental effects by 99%.
Yep.
Because of the computer power that's not going to be needed to be used to run the blockchain. which I think is just sick. And I think from my perspective, that's why I'm fascinated with Ethereum as a technology.
And why Elon is. Yeah, but I honestly, maybe I'm just an ETH maxi. I do honestly think that ETH is going to be the number one crypto of all time, and it's going to overtake Bitcoin at some point. And I think that's what a lot of people think. It might be the digital gold, and that's where people store all their value. But I honestly think ETH is going to be the number one crypto.
Yeah, well, you look at everything that's being built on ETH. Like the reason why ETH's done, I think, in my opinion, it's held the value that it has for this long is because there's use cases for it. The NFT platform is on the Ethereum network. If you want to buy an NFT on the Ethereum network, you have to buy ETH. Mm-hmm. There's no other way around. Or you can buy with card and all that sort of stuff. I don't know how that works in OpenSea, but generally, if you want to buy it, you need Ethereum in your wallet.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's Solana NFTs, there's Phantom NFTs, there's Crow NFTs, there's a whole lot of NFTs, but the only one that does well is the ETH ones. You know, Solana might be free gas, but instead of Ethereum, where 98% of projects might go to shit, Solana, it's 99.87%, or like, it's probably literally all of them.
Yeah, there's a reason that creators are deciding to use the Ethereum network instead of the Solana one.
I personally think Crow could make some gains, though, because it appeals to a whole different demographic.
You are pretty bullish on Crow.
What is Crow?
If you use, crypto.com.
Crypto.com.
If you use it, it's a whole different interface. It's something that our parents could use and not be confused about it. You can go in, load your card up with Crow, which is so easy to do.
Yeah.
And you can buy an NFT. I bought one the other day for $13 just because I thought it was like a lion delivering pizza.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool. So I bought it and it was so easy to do, seamless. No like slippage, no nothing, no gas, not like literally take all that out of it. So easy to do. So I think crypto.com could make gains, especially because it's so institutionally based as well. And it's obviously it's literally the market leader. If you're looking at it from a
I like Crow, but at the same time, business people, Web2 big brains, they're not as big of fans of Crow as they are other marketplaces because they strictly spend too much on marketing.
Crow, you reckon they're too?
I reckon they spend too much on marketing, and I reckon it's great because I'm a Laker fan. Crypto.com arena.
Yeah, but
I honestly like it.
Great criticism to have, though.
It is good. It is a good criticism. It is a good criticism. That's what I think as a marketing person. I think it's a good criticism, to have. But at the same time, I just don't think they're as good as some other marketplaces.
Like, what would you put over it?
No. I'm talking about the
actual.
actual.
Oh, you're talking about like
as an
exchanges.
Exchanges. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was still an.
I would probably at this point I'd probably put Binance FTX over it.
Okay, yeah, but even then, like it's
extremely hard to use though.
They're very confusing. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna appeal to. It's literally in the middle of Coinbase and Binance.
I agree. It's easier for an adult.
And I think that's where they found their niche and they run with it. Well, it's not even a niche anymore. It's become one of the biggest.
I'd say it's still a niche for them though. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's their lane and they're sticking to it.
Yeah.
And if you see how like parabolic they've gone.
Yeah.
Like even the Crow price gone from 20 cents at the start of the year up to $1.
Yeah.
Actually it was more than that. It was like 8 cents really. But yeah, so it's gone absolutely parabolic. It's like they're advertising in the F1. Like you would never have seen that a year ago.
No.
And they're paving a way for every other
Staples Center as well.
Yeah. That's the biggest.
Which is the biggest thing they've done.
Yeah. And Matt Damon. Can't forget Matt Damon.
True. Yeah.
Tom Brady as well, I'm pretty sure.
And the ads, like when I was in America in January, the ads they have are just absolutely ridiculous. Insane. Like they would have spent so much money on those ads. It's crazy.
What do you think their goal is and their perspective is as a business?
Take over. Absolutely take over.
In terms of
I just think
exchange?
Honestly, number one exchange.
And then they're going to integrate it so everyone uses crypto.com.
Yeah, and then obviously they want everyone to use crypto.com so that they're using their token and staking.
Yeah, and then Crow becomes that.
Yeah.
And then obviously, that's
so to buy crypto on Crow, do you need to use Crow?
No. It's the exact same as the normal one. That's just their native token.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But to buy an NFT on their marketplace, you'd use Crow.
So do you think the main thing that these exchanges need to get right is to simplify the process?
Oh, actually, sorry. On crypto.com's marketplace, you can use fiat as well.
Yeah.
Fiat.
Well, everyone's using fiat now, which is just
it's so easy. It's so easy.
But why do people use different exchanges? Do you think?
I think it's like sign up bonuses, and then for example, that like I never made an FTX account, but for that ApeCoin drop, I made an FTX account. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's different coins on different.
Do you want to talk about the ApeCoin drop?
Well, I don't want to talk about it. Actually, I'm making a comeback. I'm only at a 50% loss now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I reckon it'll
You're
get
in the
up.
community.
I reckon it'll get up to $24, but at the other side of land, and then take a massive dump.
Sick. Might be able to buy a shirt.
One thing that I think is super interesting, and I kind of wanted to talk about because I know Lewis hasn't heard of it, and I know I just told Daniel before this actually, but he hadn't heard of it. Is this new NFT project called Mad Realities? So what is Mad Realities? Well, it's basically a 20-minute TV show, right? Like a normal reality TV show. It's like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Okay. And if you hold the NFT, you can vote on who is in the show. All right. So they've already done that. Also, it's filmed live, so the NFT holders can watch it before it airs. They raised $6 million for it. And my question is like, I don't necessarily think this is the future of TV, obviously, but it is the future of TV in a sense that there's going to be so much customization from the consumer. So the people who are actually watching the show, like me personally, I would never watch a reality TV show these days, and I probably haven't in 6+ years.
Oh, you were watching the Kardashians the other day.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, I have not watched a reality. I haven't even watched TV in 6+ years, right? I just think if people who hold the NFT and people who are buying into it, if they get control over what they're watching and what they're going to see, like they even get to pick who's on the show, you know? That's just pretty interesting.
What type of a show is
I personally, it's like The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah.
It's literally like the same, basically. I haven't really done too much research into what it actually, but that's just I think it's cool. It's just a TV, you know?
He's fucking with his mic.
Sorry.
I
Sorry.
just fucked with mine.
Apologies.
That's fascinating.
Because I hadn't seen anything like it yet. It's the first of its kind, in my opinion, that I've seen.
What network's doing that? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
See, that's the thing. It's
Can't be a big one if they raise 6 mil.
true.
Writing home about it.
More of a startup.
They
sort
only
of thing.
sold like 500, I think.
Well,
And they
yeah,
raised
it's a
6
bit of
mil.
a weird niche, isn't it? But I would
It
definitely
is.
be more inclined to watch The Bachelor if I had like voting stakes in it.
Well,
And if you got to watch it before anyone else did.
That's the other thing. Like, there's just so much. Yeah, there's so much potential in that sense of an NFT being an exclusive token, which then goes back to being built on these different blockchains that you find the use case for, and you like that. Well, then you invest, and that's my perspective. But then
And,
imagine,
hold on, I think what we're leaving out is the live part. With all the reality TV shows, they're scripted, they're edited. If you can watch it live, it is raw as can be.
Yeah, okay.
And to be able to do that, you need to hold an NFT.
Mhm.
To buy an NFT, you need the cryptocurrency.
And then they get all the royalties, which then just goes right back into the show.
Okay. So it's aired afterwards to non-holders.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
But the holders get to decide everything that's done with it, basically. There's probably more stuff that they get as a holder. I just haven't looked into it. That's just the main ideas I got from it.
So they've minted.
Yeah. I think they've minted like 500. Honestly, I don't even know how they raised 6 million. I didn't look that much into it. But yeah,
It's American.
I just wanted to bring it up because I know for a fact that was the first time I've heard of a TV show. I've heard projects wanting to do shows, but this is the first one that's like a people TV show.
Yeah, so it's not cryptocurrency.
No, it's not. It's not like it's not NFTs. Like it's not the big Les show.
Yeah.
But then what's because I think the mindset of a lot of NFT holders these days is still what's in it for me. Other than getting the live stuff, what's in it?
What are you getting
for them? Like, are you getting value in terms of?
I don't know, man. It's up to you.
And
It's up
there's
to them.
Yeah,
there would be an argument for what's the long-term play there.
Mate, I reckon there's so much stuff that I don't know about the project. I
But
just haven't written down.
It's cool that it's being NFTs being broadened.
It's a cool use
into
case.
that, yeah.
Definitely a cool use case that I thought I'd bring up.
Yeah. I think eventually it's going to switch as well with the NFT space, where instead of it being an investment, people are going to start seeing it as the ticket to join exclusive clubs or to.
That's what it is already.
To have
We can
see. I
segue that
don't think it is yet. I think it's getting there, but I think a lot of people in Discords, for example, and wanting to join alpha groups is because they see the influencers on Instagram and they see it as the quick pump dump sort of thing. But it's definitely going in that direction, particularly with some of the bigger blue chip projects. It's like owning a Ferrari. You're with a bunch of Ferrari owners.
Again, it's just going to take time for adoption to. I might as well just say another one. So this week, specifically, I think it was yesterday. So today's Thursday, 28th, I think. I think it was either the 26th or 27th. Imaginary Ones. Biggest hype project that we have seen in a very, very long time. Invisible Friends minted in February, I think. And they had 250,000 followers. Imaginary Friends has 500,000 followers on Twitter. And their Instagram is even crazy. And the artist itself has 100,000 followers. The founder has 100,000 followers. So these guys are massive. They've been building for like a long time. People have heard about them before. Actually, I think they may have dropped around the same time of Invisible Friends, like the hype trailers and stuff. Obviously, the art's kind of similar. But So they sold out, right? I can't remember what the mint price is because I didn't want to get into it. And this is why I'm bringing it up. So they've sold out 8,000 of them. And the floor price is only 0.85 ETH, right? For a project that has 500,000 followers on Twitter, is extremely hyped up. So is it because the 3D art's dying? Maybe the 3D art trend is dying a bit. Maybe it's because it looks a little bit like Invisible Friends. It doesn't really at all. Like that's kind of just, but it kind of does a little bit. And they're sitting at a 4.78 ETH price. But people thought they were going to be like 20, 40. So maybe it is something to do with the 3D art, or maybe it's because they look the same, or are we just seeing the downfall in extremely hype releases? Are we seeing the switch to more organic approach? Are we starting to see people getting smarter? And you know how Gary Vee and even all the other people are talking about there's only going to be 2% of projects or 1% of projects that succeed. Are we starting to see people finding those 2% of projects now, or trying to at least? Like, are we seeing people get smarter? You know, are we starting to see the more organic approach to building coming into fruition, which is exactly what we're doing with our project, is going the organic route and trying to build in that top 2%. It's like, I think personally, my opinion on it is there might have been some mint issues as well. But even if there was mint issues, any other project, like, for example, they haven't revealed yet. For example, when Hate Beast dropped, which is a hype one that went to shit, and when Mechaverse dropped and Invisible Friends, before reveal, people were buying them off the floor like crazy. It went all the way up to 15 ETH floors, and then obviously after reveal, it dropped because that's just what happens every time. People don't get a rare one, they sell it. But with Imaginary Friends, this isn't happening. People aren't buying pre-reveal. People are, but not as much. It's not going crazy. Like,
have they revealed yet, or is it still
no,
pre-reveal?
Still pre-reveal. So you'd expect them to be at least 10 ETH floor, if not 5 ETH floor. So it's an interesting concept, and maybe I just don't know enough about why it flopped.
What's the utility behind holding
I
that?
don't know too much. Honestly, I looked into it briefly, but I knew I was never going to be able to afford one, I thought. And I don't like 3D art personally. And I look at it and I'm like, that's Invisible Friends 2.0. That's Hate Beast 2.0. That's Mechaverse 2.0, you know. But I just think, I honestly do think we're seeing the downfall in hype release projects. And that's not to say that there is not going to be hype release projects ever again, because there are still going to be extremely hype projects that sell out instantly and they go to 30 floor after. But I think it's dying a bit, and especially 3D art.
Yeah, I think it goes back to nothing to do with these guys. I don't know who the team is behind it, but going back to the team behind it and understanding what their vision is and what they want to do and what their long-term play is as well. And probably the community is probably starting to realize that as well, that there are so many releases out there now that you're probably not going to get your big bag on 1 in 10. Are they doxed?
I don't know. I can't remember.
That'd be
so interesting. Like, you look at all these big projects, most of them are doxed these days. A fair chunk are becoming doxed, and they're owning it in that sense. So yeah, fascinating.
I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I also watched a podcast, funny enough, and they were talking about how doxed founders don't necessarily do sell your project out or give you an advantage as long as you can prove your worth and you have a reputation. But again, it is quite crazy to see. This is probably the first of its kind where we've seen an extremely hyped project not do well. Obviously 0.85 ETH is still an insane amount of money.
A lot of money.
Right? But yeah, I mean, it could go up. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It looks insane. All the art looks kind of similar. I got another one if you want me to.
Shoot.
So I was telling Lewis about this one actually maybe 2 weeks ago now, and it's Gentleman's Croquet Club, and I know you guys maybe have probably heard about it. Iman Gadzi, sorry if I said your name wrong. Iman Gadzi, he's a very successful entrepreneur. He's only 22. He's been doing businesses since he was 16, so 6 years of experience, built up 8 figures more. So he's taken a completely different approach, and he even said in a podcast at Brett Malawski, or can't remember his name. He does NFT videos, and he got him on a podcast 45 minutes, and they sat down, they explained his life, and then he explained the project. And he has a completely different approach on NFTs. He thinks they're a whole scam. He thinks NFTs in general are a scam. And then it's funny, Brett goes, so why'd you buy 3 Bored Apes then? He's like, well, why did I spend 1.5 million on watches? You know, I just spent 1.5 million on apes because I can. That's basically what he said. He's like, I don't believe in it, but I do think they're the only blue chip project. That's what he said. And that's where I'm getting it from. He said they're the only blue chip project. Anyway, what makes his so why is he doing an NFT project then if he doesn't like NFTs? It's like, well, because he thinks of it as a membership to getting access to all his stuff. So he said he's been wanting to do a membership like Patreon type thing for years. He's been thinking of it for years, and NFTs give him the opportunity to have a membership thing. And what makes his so different, and why I think his will, I mean, it's almost guaranteed to do well, is the way you get whitelist and the way you get access to the Discord is you have to have a 15-minute Zoom call with one of the 14 people that take Zoom calls every single day. They get thousands of Zoom calls every single day. You have to dox yourself. You must be doxed. He said he's turned down like professional football players, UFC people, I believe. I don't want to successful business people. He said he's even had friends hit him up and he has to leave them on red. Friends who are successful people who have been in his agencies before, who have made millions of dollars. He said no to them because he wants to make sure that he knows who every single person is. Because he said, if I have to do 15-minute Zoom calls and I know who they are and they're getting extreme value, they're never going to sell. And I don't think the supply is very big. So I'm personally thinking floor price 300 ETH plus, personally, because the people who are going to be holding it are already rich as shit and don't want to sell because they're friends with Iman Ghazi, you know? And the way he's going about it, the 15-minute Zoom call, like the amount of people, like he's turning down rich people. Like you don't necessarily have to be rich to get into it. I think it's a $4,000 floor price, but you have to be. So obviously he's like, we're not going to give away the criteria that we look for and the rules that we look for. Because he said at the start, he had 2 or 3 people doing Zoom calls, but they had to hire 14 people just to do the amount of Zoom calls they're doing. Right. And there's only 5% of people who've been picked, I think.
What's the supply? Do you know?
Don't know the supply. I don't think he said anything, to be honest, yet, but
okay.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting thing to bring up for someone who, like, I just think the approach is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, he's even had people who, I think he said there's a guy who's very, very rich. People know who he is, on an influencer kind of guy on Twitter, who's not doxxed though. He's got a very good reputation, but because he's not doxxed, he would not put he wouldn't turn his camera on. He said, okay, bye. You're not turning your camera on. We're not talking to you.
Are you going to put in?
I mean, I don't think I'll ever get accepted, but I might as well try.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think I have time to. I honestly think, this is crazy because he hasn't really done too much. I honestly think if you hold his project, this is going to sound crazy. I honestly don't think you have to work a single day in your life because you're working, you do all the stuff that he says, but I honestly think if you hold his project, like you're just going to be the guy. Yeah. You're not going to have to work. And he said that he doesn't really like the Web3 culture as much. He likes the idea of it. But he wants to take the approach of doing IRL things all the time. Like he wants to build the Gentleman's Croquet Club into just a rich society of people, you know? He said that he when he was in London, he spent, I think it's $12,000 a month to go to this gym, right? Which is ridiculous. But he's like,
be a good gym.
Yeah, and he's like, so the podcast host Brett goes, so why did you do that? He's like, because the people that were in there who go to that gym, mate, the connections I made were just insane. And he's like, well, that's what Gentleman's Croquet Club is, you know?
Yeah,
you're in there, you make connections. He said there's literally they have a video, right? It's pretty funny that they release a video. They don't release many content on it at all. But one of the videos they released is the watch channel. And it's just, you scroll through the watch channel, it's just all people flexing their Rolexes. So it is a bit of a cocky, rich society, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring it up because his approach is pretty cool, like making people Zoom call him, and I just thought I'd bring that up.
When you got a high demand project, I suppose that's the good way to get a solid community in.
Yeah, and the reason why people are doing it is because he's already made, like for example, his co-founder started in his agency, worked his way all the way up to 7 figures because of his advice and his teachings, and people believe in him. People have made a substantial amount of money because of this guy already. So why would they not support him? And the majority of people that buy in are probably people that have already been following his career for a very long time. But, I honestly think he's going to have a supply of less than 1,000, which is why I think it's going to be a 300 ETH floor price.
See, on that point and what he's doing, you said it, a lot of it's IRL sort of stuff is what it's focused. See, this is what I find interesting at the moment is you've got projects, for example, Rug Radio is one, and I was a holder of a rug up until a few days ago as well, and I sold that. But do you think projects these days, and it'd be such a fine balance and a fine line, but do you slow down in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish in Web3, or do you just be the trailblazer and you just go for it? And then do you wait for it to come and then be an early adopter once it's already there? Or because like Farouk, for example, the guy who is Rug Radio, they're getting absolutely pounded by the fact that the community isn't seeing a lot of utility coming out of it. And then they're saying, well, a lot of the regulations still holding them off from being able to do what they want to do, and they're working through those steps. But it's hurting it's hurting the project short term, but it'll be interesting to see what it does in the long term, I think.
My opinion is, if Farouk sees this, I don't want to negatively. I like the guy, and I held a rug, and I still hold 3 of his coins. I just think he's got a little bit of a negative name about him as well. Not to do with necessarily him, because, for example, Board at Yacht Club, they don't release utilities all the time, but their floor price is still extremely high. It's because people see the value in it, but when you can't see the value in it, he's not providing anything straight away. But if people know shit's going to come, then they're gonna hold. But the reason why people aren't seeing value in him right now is because he's telling people to buy projects, and then he's selling them before. So basically, he's using his influencer status to pump projects and then selling them, which is just so fucked up.
Allegedly,
mate, people have tracked his wallets. Mate, I know for a fact people have sent me screenshots. People have tweeted screenshots that have gotten thousands and thousands of tweet likes. Like, he will be like, buy Doodles right now. It's gonna, well, not, he won't say buy that. He'll be like, non-financial advice. Doodles is gonna do really good and make a whole Rug Radio session on it. And then a day later he'll sell it because it's gone up crazy. And it's like, yeah, his argument is, yeah, well, I made my money. I was in it very early. It's like, yeah, that's fair enough. And there's nothing you can do about that because he's technically telling the truth. But in my opinion, that's cheesy. You're already rich as shit, man. Yeah. Don't rip your fucking followers off. I'm personally not going to support someone that's doing that.
Yeah, and that's what you got to be so careful of in the space. Is people are pumping and dumping still.
I think he's a good guy though, and I like listening to his spaces. But
yeah, it'll be I'm not a fan of that. It'll be fascinating to see what they're able to do with their project.
Yeah, but his Rug Radio that he has every single morning, I don't know if you've ever listened to it.
Yeah, I've listened to a few.
Yeah, like I listen to it sometimes, like 1 a.m. if I can't sleep. And honestly, they talk about good shit. And the people that like his co-host Mando, I love Mando. He's a good guy. He's a great co-host as well. Like way better than Farouk in my opinion.
Yeah,
and they're pretty knowledgeable people, and I think it's great.
See what they do.
Well, be interesting to see what Croquet Club does. Sounds a bit like Andrew Tate. Is anyone getting that off?
Yeah, bro.
Andrew Tate. Big Andrew Tate.
I don't even know who Andrew Tate is.
Way more nicer than Andrew Tate.
No, I know, but just that whole mystique around it.
He's going viral right now, Andrew Tate.
He is. He's blowing up.
Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, so I reckon
for the wrong reasons. But
yeah.
I reckon for our community, I reckon a few things, like for those that aren't in the space, and we'll go around and maybe give one piece of advice each on how to kind of like just take your first step in.
How to navigate.
What I did initially, and I said this to someone the other day, in the crypto market, for example, is download the Coinbase app, not financial advice, and buy $20, $50 worth of Ethereum, follow the news. And once you're in it, you do genuinely go back and check to see what the price is doing. Is it up? Is it down?
And if it's down, you check why it's down.
Yeah.
And start researching.
You learn about it in that sense. So that's my piece of advice for the end of the podcast.
Don't buy crypto without researching it. I know it takes, like, you're just putting $50 in, $100 in, but honestly, it might be boring to read all, I think I said this in the last podcast, or maybe it was the one that didn't record. It might be boring to read all the gibberish words that you don't understand, but go and research what that word means and go and understand what Ethereum 2.0 is trying to do, and Ethereum 1.0, and even what HBAR is doing, and Solana is doing, and Polygon is doing. Go read about what they're doing. Don't necessarily have to buy into them, but just read about what they're trying to do, and then you'll understand the Web3 culture and what's trying to happen. And yeah, that's my perspective on it. And I guess I'll get into, just buy an NFT. It doesn't have to be an Ethereum NFT. It could be a Crow NFT, which is extremely cheap, or a Solana NFT, which is no gas fees. But just be careful. Obviously, I don't want you to buy one and it goes to shit. But
only spend what you can afford.
Yeah, just buying one helps you learn how to actually buy one, and you'll be ahead of the game when it becomes more popular. And
see what the process is like, and how you got to link your wallet, and then you buy it, then you got to sign it, and then you get to see what the gas fees are like, and you can understand when gas is through the roof. Okay, there's a lot of activity on the blockchain, and it's actually doing these things in a small number. If you've got the money to lose, say $15-$10 even, just being able to understand it, I think.
And if you need help, like learning how to buy one and such, then we have an education part in our Discord, and come in and I can help you buy one and figure out which exchange to use. If you're Australian, if you're not Australian, how to get it into your MetaMask, how to set up your MetaMask seed phrase, all that, how to buy your NFT, how to make sure you're not buying a fake one. So don't just go on the homepage and buy a random one, which I did as well when I first started, and one of my mates did as well. So yeah, it's yeah, just that's my advice.
Well, my advice would be not to listen to anyone.
Mhm.
Like genuinely don't listen to anyone unless they're like very well respected, but even then don't listen. So like when we all first started, obviously I was listening to fucking Moonboy Crypto or whatever he was, and just pumped my bags full of all these coins. I mean,
Of XRP.
Yeah, did they do well? Yes, because we're in a general bull rally.
Not
but
XRP.
then, well, yeah, not XRP actually, but that's external factors. But then this guy pretends to be like a fucking fortune teller, right?
Yeah.
So I've been burnt many times off following influencers and stuff like that, but that's also because so like ultimate degenerate. But also just don't listen to anyone else, and borderline just don't listen to yourself as well. Have a strategy and stick to it. Don't FOMO in, because that's evidently that's how I've lost like countless amounts of my portfolio, which could have been preserved if I just had have stuck to projects that I actually believed in.
Yeah.
And instead of just switching and swing trading into these weird
don't
coins.
FOMO in, don't FOMO out at the same time as well.
I think the whole don't FOMO in is important, and we spoke about it in the last clips that we were recording on the weekend with Lewis, and you uploaded a clip where it was like about what was it? The clip? I can't remember. Anyway, it was about FOMO. Like, I just think, don't FOMO in. I mean, there's always that's what it was. There's always a project around the corner.
Yep.
You might see stuff, really, and I do it all the time as well. Oh, it's so hype. I'm gonna fucking buy in right now because it's the hype. It's gonna go to the moon.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's not really worth it, even if you are gonna make money on it.
Yeah.
And also,
you didn't do your research.
On that note, though, no one ever lost taking profits.
No.
So don't be afraid to take profits. I mean, obviously you could end up like you could have bought a mutant ape or a bored ape, and you could be sitting on a fat bag.
Mm-hmm.
But also, no one ever lost taking profit.
And
so don't be afraid to do that.
And even relating that back to myself in our Discord is like, people are like, well, how do you make money in this space? And how did you make money? And it's like, bro, have you ever sold an NFT? You're all just sitting in here buying NFTs and researching NFTs, and you got all these NFTs, and people are speaking to me like, I got all these NFTs, and they go, well, what should I do? And I say, well, you should probably sell it then if you're happy with the money you made. And they go, oh, I'll probably just hold it more. It's like, bro, take the money, like Daniel's saying. No one ever complained about making profit, whether it be $50. I didn't get profit from not selling. You have to sell if you want to make profit. Like even if it's a project that you think, oh, mate, in 6 months' time, when they release this utility, I want to make so much more money than I could right now. But what about the other ones you hold or your long term? Just sell that one and make your money, bro.
Yeah, if you're in it to make the money rather than the utility of the project, sell it when you can make money.
Yeah. Or if you see, oh, it's a comfortable amount.
That's right.
I'll sell that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that also comes back to having a strategy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
If it hits
strategy is important.
Sell. And I honestly, speaking from experience, I wish I had this last year. I did have it. Did I listen to it? No, absolutely not. And that's why I'm saying listen to yourself as well. Even though I just said don't listen to yourself, but listen to yourself in regards to your own strategy.
I think the best NFT strategy, and my advice to give people, and it's a very common strategy, whether it goes for minting or buying off the floor, if you believe in the project, but this is mostly for minting, is get 3. 1 to flip to cover all 3. 1 to sell when you feel comfortable. So have that price in your mind when you're buying them. What's the most comfortable price that I'm like comfortable with selling? And then the third one is just your long term. I'm not going to sell it. It's your diamond hand. So the first one, you already get all your money back. And the second one is when you make all your profit. And then the third one's just like, I'm holding that bitch.
Yeah. And that's a project that you got to believe in.
And that's a project that you believe in.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, was that episode 2 wrapped up?
Yeah. Stay tuned for more beefy bloke stuff.
Giddy up. We got the AMA in a moment. Well, in 2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay.